Hello, dear friends. Welcome to my revamped YouTube channel. Here I'm going to be switching my focus onto hot topics in integrative medicine and clinical pearls from my own practice and personal experience. To start off, we are going to highlight one of the most complicated issues in holistic medicine that is gaining traction right now: mold. Its newfound popularity is for good reason. Mold is ambiguous and it impacts your health in a variety of ways. So in this video, I want to highlight some key points about mold and then give you two simple take-home points I learned the hard way from my own experience and my recent exposure. So let's dig in and start off with some of the latest statistics on mold as reported by US BioTek Laboratory. Now, 7 million deaths per year are linked to indoor and outdoor air pollution. Of the 21.8 million people reported to have asthma in the United States, approximately 4.6 million cases are estimated to be attributable to dampness and to mold exposure in the home. At least 45 million buildings in the United States have unhealthy levels of mold. And any kind of water damage, whether it be a flood, a pipe burst, or any form of a leak, can facilitate the growth of mold in as soon as 24 to 48 hours. Up to 25% of the population has a genetic predisposition that makes them more susceptible to mold illness. And mycotoxins can spread and affect the immune system severely. This can lead to health conditions like allergies, hypersensitivity, respiratory problems like asthma that I just mentioned, wheezing and coughing, and some other severe ones like memory loss, depression, anxiety, reproductive problems, neurological issues, and several others. Many astute functional medicine and naturopathic doctors have become aware that mold is becoming a major contributor and cause of many chronic and mysterious symptoms, especially if these issues cannot be explained by conventional medicine, or if the underlying lifestyle factors and root causes that are most evident have already been implemented and there isn't much improvement. Still, it's easy to miss in most medical clinics, and this is because many doctors are not aware of how well. And this is because many doctors are not aware of how widespread it is or trained in various multi-system symptoms that it can manifest in, beyond the respiratory issues. In fact, many physicians tend to attribute mold-related illness to various other diagnoses that match the symptom picture. Sadly, this can lead to symptom suppression and more complications because the underlying cause is not getting addressed. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to correct mold-related illness, and it can get pretty complicated, as I mentioned. I know this both personally and with my clients. So this is why I wanted to share with you a bit of what I've learned dealing with my own current and past exposures and from supporting some of my affected clients. Before I do that, though, I want to make a little disclaimer. I don't consider myself a mold expert. As a naturopathic doctor and a certified functional medicine practitioner, I am trained in looking for the underlying causes of any disorder, and environmental factors like mold are one of these that I often find. Due to this, I've learned to navigate mold. I helped some of my affected clients, and I have known enough when to refer out when it's pretty severe and it's out of my wheelhouse. True, I have a good understanding of mold thanks to the education of some of the true and most influential pioneers in the field. This includes the esteemed Dr. Jill Krista, Dr. Tom Moorcroft, Dr. Chesney, and Dr. Patterson. I've interviewed all of these exceptional doctors on the Essential Oil Revolution podcast, and I'll provide links to them in the research section so that you have a list of integrative mold specialists and doctors who are literate. So that being said, let's move into the two key points about mold that I discovered working in my practice. The first is the link between mold binders and cavities. I was listening to a question and answer session with Dr. Jill Krista, and she brought up how she doesn't keep her patients on binders long. One of the reasons was due to them causing cavities. Now, many doctors and clients have knowledge that certain binders can bind up minerals and nutrients, so it would make sense that if one is deficient and recovering from a chronic exposure, they would need more nutrition, not less. This is why it's so important to work with a qualified professional and to follow the instructions on the label and space out binders from food, supplements, and medications. But the cavity link was new to me. However, I recently experienced it personally when I was in a bit of a panic mode due to a recent exposure. Due to this exposure, I was going heavy handed on the binders, not following my own advice. Doctors don't make good patients because we tend to like to experiment on ourselves and think we're the exception. What happened was I was going pretty extreme on the dosing, and I ended up getting extreme tooth pain, and to the point where I couldn't sleep at night sometimes, and I was getting cavities, and I couldn't figure out why I hadn't changed my diet, I hadn't changed my exercise or any major lifestyle factors. So after hearing Dr. Krista, the light bulb went out. It was the binders. So I immediately stopped them. I was already out of the mold, and I started taking various essential oils diluted in veggie caps. Now, I do use essential oils mindfully and I do use them orally. I do have experience with that. Make sure that if you do, that you are aware of the caveats and the safety. But I knew my mouth microbiome was messed up from this chronic nutrient depletion, and I know that essential oils can help the microbiome and support it. And I also know that they have been used successfully in dentistry for years. So I combine this with a specific toothpaste that's formulated for a healthy mouth microbiome as well. And within a week, my mouth is mostly healed. So this is a major take home point. Binders can bind nutrients, and even doctors can get overzealous. So be mindful of your binders. I suggest that you alternate them, that you take breaks, and you consider more natural forms when you're going to go long term, like chlorophyll and other fibers, because you want to save the hardcore stuff when you're in the actual exposure and you're under a doctor's supervision. You can find more information about this link between cavities and mold and binders and nutrient depletion in the video description if you want some more references. Now, the next key point is kind of surprising coming from the essential oil doctor herself, but it's not to underestimate the power of essential oils for environmental health. Now, I have been using essential oils for over 20 years. I've been them in my clinic for over 15, and I've been recommending essential oil diffusion for that long with my clients. And I've also been telling them to diffuse them almost as soon as they become a new client. But like many other doctors, we get a little bit sidetracked because there's so much information out there to learn. Some of the basic stuff that we were rooted in, we kind of take for granted, right? Or we forget to keep to date about how powerful it is. Now, due to my recent incident, I decided to get back to my roots and do some additional reading on essential oils and mold. I even looked back through some of my old posts, and it's funny how you can write things and sometimes forget you need a refresher. And I hope I'm not the only one with that. But anyway, I realized that I was underestimating their power again, and essential oils always make a comeback for me. That's why I love them so much. I wrote in a previous post about the power of essential oils and the importance of how you can use them for environmental health. I talked about in a 2005 how Edward Close, PhD, a mold remediation consultant, performed a third-party sampling for mold in an apartment complex. It was evacuated for flooding, and the new buyer had hired an expert to remediate it, and they used a hospital disinfectant, but it didn't work. And Dr. Close diffused an essential oil blend under the same controlled conditions, and he had amazing results. There were 10,667 Stachyboides mold spores identified in pure cubic meter area. But after diffusing a blend of essential oils for 48 hours, Dr. Close found only 13 Stachyboides remaining. In a sample of sheetrock of 75,000 Stachyboides mold spores, after 72 hours of diffusing, no Stachyboides mold spores remained. Furthermore, the mold did not reestablish itself because the oils continued to work for hours after diffusing. So it's important to diffuse the oils, I feel, and make sure that, this is one component. Now, this doesn't test for mycotoxins, but it's still impressive at getting rid of the actual mold in the spores itself. So, a summary of my key takeaways, my friends. Mold is ubiquitous. It can cause many health problems. Be careful with your binders, especially for your teeth and your nutrient depletion. And remember how powerful essential oils are as an ally for a healthy home environment. In my opinion, they're being underestimated, even by myself. So you want to keep mold at bay. They should be used along with air filters, remediation, and being mindful of humidity. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed these key take home points and they were helpful for you, and you can pass it along to somebody else who may be impacted by mold or wants to learn more about using essential oils for a healthy home environment. And if you have any ideas for another video where you'd like me to discuss any other topic, be sure to put them in the video description. I also have additional resources of where you can find me and additional information on essential oils, naturopathic, and functional medicine for you as well. Thanks for joining me today.